This is Marcus Whitney's audio universe.
Like, you gotta do the work. You gotta show up and just do the work.
What's good? Happy Thursday. Welcome to another episode of Marcus Whitney Live. I've been taking some time to retool some things, and I'm excited about where we're going, but I am excited to slip this episode in here this week. I'm always looking for people who are innovating in spaces that seem to sort of just been figured out and just like they're corners of the internet nobody really thinks about, but then, you know, they give you just an aha moment when you think, oh my God, nobody has done that. And so I was so happy to be connected with my guest today. She is someone who's tackling a problem that if you've ever worked in marketing and you are trying to market to what people would consider to be a diverse population, you may have had problems trying to find some great stock photos. You may see, oh my God, I've seen that in 30 different ads already. Can I find something new? And so I'm so happy to talk today to the founder of TONL, my guest for today, Karen Okonkwo. Karen, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. So let's kind of jump right in. Give us a little bit of a sense of who you are, what your background is, and then we'll get into TONL, your business.
Yeah, so I'm first generation Nigerian American, born and raised here in the US. And, if anybody knows about Nigerian culture, you got to be the best. You got to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, or the joke is that you're a disgrace to your family. So lucky for my family, I actually ended up going into the more traditional route with medical sales. And as soon as I got into medical sales, they moved me out to Seattle, where I really wanted a fresh start. I grew up in a predominantly white and Hispanic neighborhood and schooling system that I didn't really grow up around a lot of Black people. So when I came out here, it really was my mission to foster more meaningful relationships with a diverse group of people. So flash forward, I decided to get into the blogging world, start my own blog. And I end up starting to realize the deficiencies when it came to diverse imagery because of the diverse circle that I created.
Mm-hmm.
One of my friends came up to me and he said, "Why don't you show any Black people on your site?" And so that really pushed me as somebody who likes to solve problems to figure out how could I solve this problem by creating more diverse imagery online. So that's a little bit about me and my background.
So before we get into TONL, I want to first just start with talk about the stock photo space, right? The stock photos. I've been professionally working on the internet since 2001, and stock photos feel like one of those things that just was always there. You know what I mean? These sites were always in place, and you never really knew who took the photos, who sort of decided what they were supposed to take photos of. How did these database of photos happen? And then obviously, we had like Flickr come into the space and lots of different user generated, repositories for photos where people would then sort of start to license them. But can you just talk a little bit about the stock photo industry and why we would arrive in this point today where even though we have a diverse population, somehow people weren't taking pictures of everybody?
Yeah, people don't realize that stock photography is a multi-million dollar industry. And it really has been occupied by a lot of big heads like Getty, like Shutterstock. And what they basically done is they have kind of monopolized the whole media industry with imagery. But it's always been told through a white lens, so much so in other industries as well. And so basically what they do is they have scaled by having photographers go out there and shoot images. But the problem is that there's not a lot of diversity amongst these photographers, or these photographers are worried about getting paid. And so they are told that there's a certain look that's going to sell more, which is always through a white lens.
Got it.
So yeah, that's pretty much where we've been at for decades when it comes to those who have been leading in the stock photo realm.
And when these photographers are being, because this is helpful for me, someone who doesn't understand this part of the industry, when these photographers are being told, hey, I get it. If you're creative, right, and you're a freelancer, you're trying to do work that's going to get you paid, right? That's sort of what you're trying to do. So if you're being told this, are you being told because this is sort of what the platform is saying, or are the buyers, the people who are, you know, massively subscribing to these databases of photos, is this sort of what they're saying they're looking for? I'm interested in, like, where is the source of this concept that looking through the white lens is the thing that's going to sell?
You know what it is? In doing our research, because we did a lot of market research, I just think that we all have been operating on a subconscious level. So I don't think that it is an intentional, oh, I want to just see white people, but the language surrounding the need for imagery has been centered toward white people.
Yeah.
And so it's a toss between the two. It's the companies that are bringing these photographers, and it's also those who are buying it. And the buyers also, they're going to take whatever they're given and what they're accustomed to. So it becomes this like incestuous thing. It never ends. Who's going to stop it? Who's going to break that cycle? And that's obviously where our company comes in.
Got it. So I recently was working on a project where I needed black stock photos. So the timing of this was just crazy because I quickly found, when I went to look for, you know, black photos, the ones that I was finding on the big name sites, they did not have a cultural aesthetic like sensitivity,
right,
that reflected what I was trying to convey. Meaning, they were pictures of black people, okay, but they didn't feel authentic. Like, it did not feel like like photos it just didn't match what I had in my mind, right? And so talk a little bit about TONL and how you are addressing that you may even have a better term for it than I do, right? Like, you know, it's like a cultural aesthetic that goes beyond simply pointing a camera at a diverse population, but actually capturing it in a way that reflects the authentic experience.
Yeah, there's so many layers to that, because when you as a photographer are not used to having a diverse group of people amongst your life, how are you capable of authentically representing somebody of a different race, of a different ability than you? And the common thread here is conversation. And I think a lack of conversation happens between the subject and the photographer, is what I'm guessing. And that always is going to translate into the imagery. And so for us, we take a genuine approach where we like to get to know the subjects. We share with them exactly what the intended use of the photo session is going to be.
Okay.
And we also paid attention to what's trending. Right now, or at least in the past, a lot of the stock photo companies were operating with very cheesy, corny, homogeneous, stale images. That's not what this generation cares about. This generation wants Instagrammable photos. So we wanted our stock photos to obviously convey a message, but still be aesthetically pleasing, like you said.
Mm-hmm. So, like, what does it take to launch a stock photo company? Now, I don't want you to like give your secrets, but like you're partnered with a photographer. You know, is it all about you and that photographer, or is it really about creating the platform and then recruiting other photographers from around the country? Is that like your primary job?
Yeah, well, I think whenever you start any business, you have to decide, do you want to be a small business or do you want to be a big business? Because there's different ways that you are going to approach things. And so for us, we created a business plan that gave us a 2 to 5 year plan toward becoming a big business. To become a big business, you have to scale. You scale through people or through money. For us, we want to scale through photographers. So we operate off of calling ourselves Premier Diverse Stock Photography. So therefore, we wanted to have a running start of premier photographers. So that's exactly what we did. We had those people submit imagery on a monthly basis to help build up our portfolio. Of course, from that point on, our goal here is to open up our contributor portal, but we're still going to have that filter of, are you providing us premier diverse imagery? So there's going to be some nuance to that, but that's our first approach. Is if anybody wants to get into the industry, you got to make sure you understand, do you want to be a big business or small business? And how do you intend on scaling if you decide to become a big business? Of course, the website is the most important piece. That's your baby. That's something that I learned along the way, because a lot of people are like, oh, you're a tech company. I was like, yeah, no, we're not. We are. We very much are. I couldn't even believe how much money that I can't believe how much money we spent on developers. They are literally our lifeline to make everything possible, because there's a lot of custom things that happen behind the scenes for a lot of these people who need images.
I've been seeing a lot of conversations online, particularly today, about funding for Black founders. Did you raise money for this company?
No, we did not. We decided to bootstrap.
Okay. Is that sort of the long-term aspiration? Do you think that you're going to kind of to get to a particular point in revenue and scale, and then you're going to want to infuse a bunch of capital to really sort of scale out the technology, or do you just intend to continue to be 100%, owned, bootstrapped, and sort of grow that way?
Yeah, the thing about stock photography is that there's so much money that can be made in it that we felt like we had enough capital to keep using that capital to reinvest it, to keep growing. Yeah. So that's currently our approach. We want to stay private, but you never know. Things can change. And we do see a lot of businesses who are starting to feel like they want to enter the conversation on these racial injustices. And so therefore, they're wanting to invest into Black businesses. And my whole take is, if it's free money and it's going to sustain our business, why not take it?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
That might be us here in a few weeks. So
well,
we'll see.
Fingers crossed, knocking on wood for you. Can you talk a little bit about the photographers that you bring on board? One of the things that I think we're all having a big discussion about this year is undervalued, undertapped talent that are diverse, right? And I would imagine that just like a writer is not a writer, right? There are some writers that do a great job of writing fiction versus nonfiction, have specialties in different areas, different vernaculars. I would imagine in photography, it's similar, that the photographers that you're able to tap into may not have always been the photographers that were getting picked for other things. Is that true?
Yeah.
Or did many of these photographers, just because the work was what the work was, they had to develop other styles than maybe what they really wanted to do?
Yeah, I mean, the photographers that we've chosen them to stay authentic to who they are and their style.
Okay.
And a lot of these photographers, some conversations we had prior to them onboarding was that previous companies who've reached out to them have been the ones saying, hey, we're looking for something more all-American, when they submit a picture of a Black family. So we, again, have just tried to allow them to stay within their style. And I think the great thing about that too is our photographers are so diverse. We have a photographer who is Taiwanese. We have one who is Nigerian American, one who is mixed race, a female, another one that's mixed race with Asian and white. And they come with their own lens on their, what centers them, from their race to their sexual preferences to their gender, and that all translates into diverse imagery that we need.
That's awesome. How has it been partnering with someone? You're not in the same city, right?
My partner and I are not. So he's in New York and I'm here in Seattle.
Yeah, so you're literally on two different coasts, two different time zones. Talk a little bit about that, about operating a partnership in the middle of COVID-19, where you've got the time zone differences, you've got just the way that different states are handling things. Although I think Washington and New York are probably not that different. They were both sort of early hotspots for the virus. But just generally speaking, like, what's it like operating a business with a co-founder on an opposite coast?
Yeah, it's really nice because both Joshua Kissy and I, we came from backgrounds of working with other partners. So we fumbled in those businesses and saw the ups and downs. And we came in very mature. And one of the things that we knew is that we needed to divide and conquer. You stay within your strength, I stay within mine. And so he's a photographer, he's a creative. I obviously have a creative background, but I'm not here directing shoots and doing shoots. My background is more in business development, more in marketing. And so we let each other play in that playground. One thing that has really helped us is using Slack. Slack has been instrumental in allowing us to communicate, but we have boundaries. We don't talk past 6 p.m. because my 6 p.m. is his 9 p.m. Nothing productive happens at that time.
Right.
And we're also friends. So we only text each other for personal stuff. Everything business is in Slack. As far as the current climate, believe it or not, the pandemic actually boosted our business. because more people needed imagery online because that's the only way they could communicate with their audience. So we actually were really overwhelmed by a lot of requests, and they still keep coming in. So it's just been really easy to manage because we know what lane that we're each in.
So that's really interesting. You just talked about incoming requests, and that's something I was wondering about. Is, when you're working with more mature organizations, agencies, brands with real marketing budgets, they may come in and say, okay, people think about stock photo as I'm going to go and I'm going to get what's already there. Like what percentage of the business is people coming to you and saying, hey, I need this. Can you source this for me? Can you, give me 5 different looks that, with a design brief associated with it?
Yeah, that has been increasingly a higher request than normal. I would say right now it's probably constitutes about maybe like 15% of our business.
Okay.
A lot of people are requesting custom stock photography. And that is something that we've done. We've done it with Nike, we've done it with Microsoft, Google, but now we're even seeing smaller agencies reaching out and wanting that as well.
And when they buy that, when you say it's custom, is it like they will own the license for it? So like, you're getting sort of this one-time transaction fee for facilitating this. You're not going to get the continued value of having it in your library and being able to resell it to other people. Is that correct?
So it's custom. So you could totally buy out the entire image, but still have it on Tonal for free download for marketing purposes.
Ah, okay.
You could completely buy it out and never have it on Tonal. You could also have some of it on Tonal, some of it that's just yours. So we've negotiated a variety of different ways to make that happen. So it's mutually beneficial.
Got it. How much of your business development work is sort of hand-to-hand business development, partnership sales, trying to get like big license deals versus digital marketing, running Facebook ads, running Instagram ads? I would imagine a good amount of Instagram ads, like how are you thinking about the growth? You talked about you want to scale this business over 2 to 5 years. When you look at that growth trajectory, how much of it looks like hand-to-hand sales versus digital marketing and acquisition?
I would say 80% hand-to-hand sales, 20% digital marketing.
Wow. I would have never thought that was the split. That's why I wanted to ask the question.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it all depends. It's all about the current climate.
Yeah.
And right now there are so many brands who it's low-hanging fruit for them to be able to change the imagery at their respective organization. Because when you see something, you believe that you can do it.
Yeah.
Just like with Black Panther, there's so many young Black and brown kids who just to see a superhero is transformative. So we're seeing a lot of personal reach outs here that there's not, we've maybe spent less than $1,000 on any sort of digital marketing. I'm not saying that it doesn't work, but it's not been the biggest way that we've garnered our newest level of revenue.
Yeah. What does 21 have in store for you that is different from this year? I mean, I think we're at the back half of this year. We're headed into Q4. If you don't have your plans already in place, you're behind. I'm sure right now you're thinking about 21 a lot, right?
Yep.
So what are some of the big milestones for 21 that you're hoping that you feel like you can share that you're looking to achieve?
And number 1 is our contributor portal, because that's how we're going to scale. That's numero uno.
Yep.
Number 2 here is getting more into video content. We know that 80% of the way that people observe content is through video. We're going to fall behind if we don't get on that train. And so one of the avenues that we believe that we can really amplify video is through a section on our site called Tonal Narratives, where we take a deeper look into the subject and allow people to understand who they are. And we feel like that can come to life through video. So we are going to start creating content that has a video element to our Tonal Narratives.
And how would that be used? Would that be used as like B-roll in a marketing campaign? Is that like where that would come in?
So the video component wouldn't be used like anybody would be buying it. So we're not getting into video stock yet, but I get what you're saying.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad I asked. I'm trying to understand that a little bit better. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just more so to amplify our site and to add more ethos. Because I think people forget that people buy from people they like. And that's never going to ever go out of style. People need to love and fall in love with Tonal and what we stand for. And static written content isn't horrible. But if we know that people are absorbing content faster through video and a higher frequency, why would we miss that train?
So that gets into a trend that I was talking with some friends yesterday. One's in the wrestling industry, the other one is in the content industry. He runs a site that has well over 1 million uniques a month, and we were talking about how the worlds of commerce and the worlds of media are doing this, right? And how advertising spend, and you've even validated it, but by saying 80% of what you're going to do is going to be hand-to-hand sales, 20% digital sales, but what you're really focusing on for 21 is narrative, is adding narrative, which I would just consider like media, right? You know what I mean? Like you're building out the media aspects of your business, and people are just coming to this place where media and commerce are no longer disconnected, where it's like advertising driving to a conversion, you know what I mean, or an affiliate from a post here. It's more like they're an embedded, combined entity, Yep. And I think it's going to be interesting. There's, my belief is that the advertising industry is going to consolidate and going to kind of shrink, next year quite a bit, as people start realizing this is what you really need to be investing in. You need to be investing in creating, I hate to say it, but creating content. At the end of the day, you need to be investing in creating content. And also there was a stat that I saw yesterday where I had no understanding of how much things had changed, but Shopify's market cap is like 170 billion, and eBay's market cap is only like 35 billion. Wow. Which was like mind blowing, right? It's like it's like Shopify out of nowhere is now 5 times eBay from a market cap perspective, right? But it's because it's empowering all of these ethos-based sellers, right? You know what I mean? People buying from who they like, and it's just empowering this army of new, of new sellers. And so I just think it's like, it's really, really smart that you're taking that approach and creating the narrative aspect.
Yeah, and honestly, a lot of these companies like Hootsuite is a really good customer relationship management tool, specifically for your social media. And they did a digital trend report yesterday, so I hopped on. They did a call.
Okay.
And one of the people who handles a lot of their data and reporting, he said that the strategy is just exactly what I said. He's like, if companies are trying to figure out what they need to do from a digital perspective, well, we're in a pandemic. So speaking long term is, I don't want to say it's silly, but it kind of is. You got to have a short term approach. And he says, so the short term approach is just to continue to engage with your audience, create content, and allow that connection there, because that's obviously going to turn into sales.
Yeah.
And so I was like, we're on the right track.
Yeah, for sure. Do you see big competition coming in? I mean, like there's definitely a wave around diversity this year, no question.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think I just saw earlier this week the Oscars like changed the criteria requirements for Best Picture. Right. So like when you start seeing stuff like that happen, you're like, okay, like there's definitely some moves being made, and so that just tells me more and more capital is going to be moving in this direction. Do you feel like that is going to be a rising tide raises all the boats? Do you feel any pressure from any other competition that's in the space? Like how are you interpreting all that?
We definitely don't feel any pressure, as we haven't seen anybody else produce the level of quality that we have been able to provide, and also just our niche with our storytelling. So I think that if nothing else, it's going to be a rising tide raises all ships. We welcome and encourage more diverse imagery, and who knows, maybe we'll buy out all those people who are our competitors.
Love it. So we get a lot of entrepreneurs that are that are listening to the podcast. What would you just offer as one key piece of advice, that you've learned in this journey that you're on right now? Like the thing that is most, every day you wake up, you're like, this is the thing that you're thinking about, sort of as a guiding principle that you would call key to the way that you're thinking about, growing your business.
I think that if you never started off with a strong enough why, you're going to crumble. You're almost chasing your tail. You have to know why you're doing this. And this is not, oh, I'm doing this because I want to make money. You can make money in anything. This has to be more about your why should make you cry. It's the reason why you get up during those down days, because it's going to get dark. I mean, when I mean it like literally with the fall and the winter, but it's also going to get dark because we still don't have a vaccine with this pandemic, this virus. You know, a lot of things are unknown, but when you're centered, you're grounded, you know why you're doing what you're doing, you now can actually remove the things that don't serve your general purpose. So I would just encourage people to go back to the chopping block or board and ask yourself, why do I want to embark on this journey? If it isn't strong enough, maybe it's time to pivot. Maybe it's time to let go. Maybe it's time to, revert to something else that is working. I don't know, but you have to have a strong why.
I love it. I think that's a perfect note to end on. Karen, this has been a masterclass for me in the entire world of stock photo. I've learned a ton. Don't worry. It sounds like too much work. I would never even think about competing with you. I hope I could invest if you will, open that up later on. But no, seriously, it was incredible getting to know you. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. Likewise.
Everybody out there, y'all follow Karen, and most importantly, TONL, TONL.co. Go check out the website. Go. You guys have some like free photos, right? Where people could just
take the Take collection.
Exactly. Go to the Take collection. Go grab yourself some free photos. You know what I mean? Go use them in your Instagram or use them in a deck, and then come back and actually buy something. But go support Karen out there and support her company. My book, Create and Orchestrate, in stores now. If you haven't already gotten a copy, shame on you. You need to go grab that. The podcast, Marcus Whitney's Audio Universe, everywhere that you listen to podcasts and subscribes, go subscribe. Give me that rating on iTunes. And finally, you can follow me everywhere at Marcus Whitney. That's it. I'm not going to be back tomorrow. I have a pretty big workshop I'm going to be doing the second half of the day, but I will be back all of next week with episodes every single day, and probably some tweaks to the format that I'm looking forward to. So until then, y'all have a wonderful weekend. Take care of yourselves, and let's build the new normal, y'all. Peace.
Thank you for tuning in to Marcus